Welcome back to the channel. Ever wondered how people dealt with diseases before modern medicine? Spoiler, it wasn't pretty. We're talking about a time when a headache could land you with a hole in your head and a cough could have you drowning in leeches. From skull drilling to poop prescriptions, today we're uncovering 10 ancient medical practices that will make you very glad you live in the 21st century. So buckle up and get ready to cringe, because some of these remedies are truly the stuff of nightmares. Let's dive in. Kicking off our list at number 10, we have trepanation, possibly the most wince-inducing procedure on this list. I'm talking about drilling a hole in the skull. Yeah, you heard that right. This wasn't some rare last-ditch effort either. Trepanation is one of the oldest surgical practices in history, dating back to 6500 BCE. We're talking Stone Age surgery, people. Archaeologists have unearthed skulls from all over the world. Ancient Peru, medieval Europe, you name it, with these telltale holes drilled or scraped into them. The reasons for performing trepanation varied, but the most common ones were to treat headaches, seizures, and mental illness. Now, if you're thinking, wait, did they think there were gremlins throwing a rave in there? You're not far off. The prevailing theory is that our ancestors believed these ailments were caused by evil spirits trapped inside the head. Trepanation, in their minds, was like opening a door to let the bad vibes out. Another theory suggests it was a way to relieve pressure caused by head injuries, which, okay, slightly less crazy, but still, you have to remember this was a time before aspirin, let alone brain surgery as we know it. The craziest part, evidence from ancient skulls shows that some people actually survived this procedure. The bone around the hole shows signs of healing, meaning they lived for months or even years after having their skull perforated. It's mind-boggling to think about the pain and risk of infection they must have endured. I can't imagine the level of desperation that would lead someone to say, yeah, sure, drill a hole in my head, why not? Modern medicine, you're all right by me. Coming in at number 9 is a practice that'll have you thanking your lucky stars for modern medicine: bloodletting. For over 2,000 years, this was the go-to treatment for just about everything. Got a cold? Bloodletting. Sprained ankle? Bloodletting. Feeling a bit down? You guessed it, bloodletting. The ancient Greeks were big proponents of this, believing that our bodies were governed by 4 humours: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. They believed that any imbalance in these humours would result in illness. And how do you restore balance, you ask? By draining the excess humour, of course. Bloodletting was such a popular practice that it even had its own celebrity endorsement: Julius Caesar. That's right, the Roman emperor himself was a firm believer in the power of a good bloodletting. Doctors, or rather barber surgeons, would use a variety of tools to drain blood, from leeches to knives to these terrifying-looking cups that would create a vacuum and suck the blood out. Speaking of barber surgeons, have you ever wondered why the barber pole is red and white? Well, it's a rather gruesome reminder of their bloodletting past. The red represents blood, the white represents bandages, and the pole itself represents the stick patients would grip during the procedure to make their veins pop. Bloodletting remained a popular treatment well into the 18th century, even though it often did more harm than good. Case in point, George Washington. He was bled extensively when he came down with a throat infection and, tragically, died as a result of blood loss. So, the next time you're feeling under the weather, just remember to be thankful for over-the-counter cold medicine and leave the bloodletting to the vampires. At number 8, we have a substance that's more at home in a thermometer than a medicine cabinet: mercury. This silvery, mesmerizing liquid metal might seem cool, but trust me, you don't want to find it in your medicine. The ancient Chinese were particularly enamored with mercury, believing it to be the key to immortality. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, was so obsessed with achieving immortality that he consumed mercury pills like they were candy. Spoiler alert? It didn't work. In fact, historians believe that his mercury consumption likely contributed to his death, but the mercury craze didn't end there. Fast forward to the Renaissance, and mercury was being used to treat syphilis, one of the most feared diseases of the time. While mercury did have some effect on the syphilis bacteria, its side effects were absolutely horrific. We're talking tooth loss, organ damage, neurological problems, and even madness. Even some of history's most famous figures weren't immune to the allure of mercury. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, was rumored to have taken mercury-based pills for years to treat his chronic melancholy. While we can't say for sure if mercury contributed to his mood swings, it certainly didn't help. And if you thought it couldn't get any worse. In the 19th century, mercury was a common ingredient in teething powders for babies. You read that right, they were giving toxic heavy metal to infants. Unsurprisingly, this led to widespread mercury poisoning, with symptoms ranging from tremors and developmental delays to death. So yeah, mercury, definitely not a miracle cure, more like a recipe for disaster. Buckle up, folks, because number 7 on our list is going to make you want to wash your mouth out with soap. I'm talking about urine therapy, the practice of using urine. Yes, you heard that right, P, for medicinal purposes. Now, before you completely write this off as the ramblings of unhygienic ancestors, urine therapy has been around for centuries, practiced by various cultures around the world. The ancient Romans, for example, were big fans of urine. They used it to treat everything from acne to wounds, and even gargled with it to whiten their teeth. In medieval Europe, urine wasn't just a treatment, it was a diagnostic tool. Physicians, or urine doctors as they were called, would examine the color, smell, and even taste of a patient's urine to diagnose their ailments. Apparently, cloudy urine meant a fever, while a reddish hue indicated a bladder infection. The ancient Greeks also got in on the urine action, using it to treat snake bites and disinfect wounds. And to be fair, urine does contain a small amount of ammonia, which has mild antiseptic properties. But let's be real, you're probably better off just washing your wound with soap and water. Perhaps the most disturbing fact about urine therapy is that the Romans actually taxed the sale of urine collected from public toilets. That's right, they were literally profiting off of pee. So the next time you're feeling under the weather, maybe just stick to chicken soup and orange juice. Your taste buds and your stomach will thank you. Hold on to your hats, folks, because number 6 on our list is not for the faint of heart or stomach. We're talking about animal dung ointments. Yes, you read that right. People used to smear animal poop on themselves in the name of medicine. The ancient Egyptians, despite their advancements in other areas, were particularly fond of this practice. They used crocodile dung as a contraceptive and a wound treatment. Apparently, they believed that the acidic properties of crocodile dung could kill bacteria. In reality, it probably just introduced a whole new world of infection. But the Egyptians weren't the only ones with a penchant for poop. The ancient Mesopotamians used goat dung to treat nosebleeds, because why not? And if you thought that was bad, the Ebers Papyrus, an ancient Egyptian medical text, recommends using donkey dung to treat wounds. Imagine rubbing poop on your face to stop a nosebleed. Yeah, no thanks. And if you thought animal dung was bad, some cultures even used human feces in their remedies. We're not going to get into that here, but let's just say hygiene wasn't exactly a priority back then. So the next time you're tempted to complain about the taste of cough syrup, just remember that it could be a whole lot worse. You could be slathering yourself in animal dung. All right, we're halfway through, and I want to hear from you. Which of these ancient medical practices shocks you the most so far? Let me know in the comments below. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. And if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more weird and wild history. Now back to the cringe. Coming in at number 5, we're fast-forwarding to the 20th century. A time that, unfortunately, wasn't immune to medical mishaps. We're talking about lobotomies, a procedure that sends chills down your spine. Imagine this, a sharp instrument inserted through the eye socket, all with the aim of severing brain connections. Sounds horrifying, right? The chilling part is that thousands of these procedures were performed, often without anesthesia, leaving many patients in a vegetative state. One name synonymous with this procedure is Dr. Walter Freeman, who championed the ice-pick lobotomy. He performed over 3,000 of these, and one of his most well-known patients was Rosemary Kennedy, sister of President John F. Kennedy. The procedure left her permanently disabled. Lobotomies were touted as a cure for mental illness, but in reality they were more like a death sentence for the mind. Thankfully, by the 1950s, the medical community recognized the devastating consequences and discredited this barbaric practice. At number 4, we're diving into the world of mummy medicine. Yes, you heard that right, mummies. During the Middle Ages, Europeans held a rather peculiar belief that consuming powdered mummies could cure a whole range of ailments, from headaches to the bubonic plague. Can you imagine going to the apothecary and finding ground-up mummies on the shelves? This practice, often called corpse medicine, even extended to the consumption of human blood. King Charles II of England was said to be quite fond of a concoction called King's Drops, made from crushed human skulls. The demand for mummies was so high that a black market emerged, with fake mummies being created from the bodies of beggars or criminals. It's a stark reminder of how desperation can lead to some truly bizarre and disturbing beliefs. Number 3 on our list will make you cringe. Cauterization with hot iron. Picture this, a searing hot iron pressed against your skin to seal wounds and stop bleeding. And the worst part, no anesthesia. While this excruciating method did stop bleeding, it came at a hefty price. Severe burns, infections, and unimaginable pain were common side effects. Soldiers on the battlefield often had to endure this agonizing treatment, and sadly many didn't survive the cure. Ambroise Paré, a renowned French surgeon, described the screams of patients undergoing cauterization as unbearable. Thankfully, Paré himself pioneered less barbaric methods, but cauterization remained a common practice for centuries. Hold on to your hats for number 2, because this one's a doozy: goat testicle transplants. In the early 20th century, Dr. John Brinkley, a man who seemed to have missed a few chapters in medical school, made the outlandish claim that transplanting goat testicles into men could restore their youth, vitality, and even cure impotence. Thousands of men, desperate for a miracle cure, flocked to Brinkley's clinics and underwent this bizarre procedure. The results? Infections, complications, and absolutely no benefit whatsoever. Brinkley, the ultimate snake oil salesman, amassed a fortune from this medical sham, even using his wealth to launch 2 unsuccessful campaigns for governor of Kansas. Despite his eventual downfall and exposure as a fraud, Brinkley's legacy serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of medical quackery. Remember, folks, goat testicles are not the fountain of youth. And finally, the number 1 spot on our list of bizarre ancient medical practices goes to the plague doctor's cure. The Black Death, a devastating pandemic that ravaged Europe, struck fear into the hearts of millions. Enter the plague doctors. Cloaked in terrifying bird-like masks filled with herbs, they were believed to filter the air. Their treatments, however, were about as effective as a chocolate teapot. They rubbed onions, herbs, and even arsenic on the sick, hoping for a miracle. One popular cure was the Vickery method, which involved strapping a live chicken to the patient, believing it would draw out the disease. Another involved drinking a potion made from crushed emeralds. Unsurprisingly, none of these methods worked, and millions perished. The Black Death wiped out nearly a third of Europe's population, and these so-called cures only added to the suffering. It's a chilling reminder of how far we've come in our understanding of medicine. So there you have it, folks, the top 10 most bizarre medical practices. So, which of these ancient medical practices shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more fascinating history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.